Scriptures could be read here. Let me just read just one. Proverbs 29, the rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. So that would seem to endorse the use of corporal punishment. So how would you reconcile this bill with Scripture's counsel on this matter?
Hey, Olson, the only one bringing shame to their mother is you, fuckface. Your absolute stupidity is mind-boggling. And this was actually something hit on by Representative Talley, who, by the way, is literally a minister, and who argued that Olson's religious interpretation is bogus, saying, why don't we follow all the other Old Testament laws? There's about 4,000 of them, and one of them is not to allow wives to wear jewelry or stone your child if they're disobedient. Why don't we do that? Because we pick and choose what we want to follow. But unfortunately, this is the world we live in, and Olson and so many others refuse to take the advice of, don't be stupid. And then we need to talk about Rasheem Carter. Carter was a 25-year-old black man who was reported missing in southeast Mississippi back on October 2nd. And a month later, on November 2nd, the Smith County Sheriff's Office said in a Facebook post that his remains had been found in a wooded area near the town of Taylorsville, around 20 miles away from the city of Laurel, where he had lived. With the Sheriff's Office explicitly writing, at this time, we have no reason to believe foul play was involved, but the case is still under investigation. And well, the reason that we're talking about this all these months later is because Carter's family and their attorneys are now saying they believe that he was murdered in a brutal hate crime, accusing the police of stonewalling for months, saying they failed to properly investigate the matter, and calling for a federal inquiry. With prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who's representing the family, saying in a press conference earlier this week that an independent autopsy showed that Carter had been decapitated. Crump saying that literally his vertebrae and spinal cord were found in a different location from his head. And authorities have also recently found other body parts that they believe to be Carter's.
This was a nefarious act. This was an evil act. Somebody murdered Rasheem Carter. There's nothing natural about this. It screams out for justice. What we have is a Mississippi lynching.
Also, during that press conference, Rasheem's mother, Tiffany Carter, described some very concerning things that happened before her son went missing. They're saying that on October 1st, one day before Carter went missing, he texted her saying that he and a business owner she did not identify were not seeing eye to eye. And they're allegedly writing, if anything happened to me, he's responsible for it. I'm too smart, mama. He got these guys wanting to kill me. And what's more is that Carter's mom said she also had a very alarming phone conversation with him the same day.
My son told me that it was 3 truckloads of white guys trying to kill him. And at the time that he told me, as a mother, I had to think fast. So I told him, to go to the police station, because I felt in my heart that they would serve and protect like they obligated to do. Yes. They did not help him. He asked for help, but they didn't help him.
Tiffany Carter also telling local reporters that specifically her son had gone to Taylorsville police for help and asked for a ride back to Laurel, but the officers refused. And actually, Taylorsville Police Chief Gabe Horn confirmed to reporters that Rasheem had indeed gone to the department, but saying that the officers just couldn't give him a ride because of staffing and liability issues, and claiming he told the officer that night that he and his roommates had a verbal disagreement and he felt threatened and that was it. Rasheem did tell the officer that night that was up here that he had a ride coming, and the officer advised him, "You're more than welcome to stay at the police department," but claiming Rasheem said, "No, sir, I dropped a pin where I wanted to be picked up." But a key thing there is that seems to contradict what other law enforcement agents have said, with Smith County Sheriff Joel Houston telling a local outlet back in November that when Carter spoke to the police, he, quote, never seemed to be in any distress or anything, and he never mentioned anything about being in immediate danger. And in statements to the Washington Post yesterday, Houston argued that there's no evidence to substantiate any of the claims that Rasheem Carter was murdered, and adding, there's no indication that someone killed him. The evidence we do have coincide with what animals would do to a body. Houston also pushed back on the claim the police mishandled the case in any way, saying that he welcomed a federal investigation and continuing, there's nothing to be swept under the rug or hidden in that nature. So that's where we are right now with this one. We're going to obviously keep a close eye for more information, but in the meantime, let me know your thoughts, and of course, make sure you subscribe to stay in the loop. And then, also remember that MoistCr1TiKaL Sneako drama that we talked about earlier this week? Well, that has escalated in a way I did not expect, because apparently Charlie and a chunk of the internet dunked on Sneako so hard that on one of his next streams, he whipped out a gun, and I'll let Moist explain it.
It got really under his skin in a big way, so he started dancing around with the gun and threatening to come shoot me. So he kept saying, "Oh, you're in Tampa, right? I'll come see you," waving his gun around and dancing.
Sneako ultimately saying, "Oh, you want to watch my clips? Watch my clips." With Charlie then responding like gun instructor Jesus.
And I'm sorry to be that guy, this is like the grammar police of guns, but he's a fucking imbecile, you absolute buffoon. What you have there is not clips. These are mags. They're mags, not clips, you absolute dummy. The same way that this is also a mag. They're all mags. Stop saying clips, you look stupid here. Anyway, sorry for the gun anatomy lesson.
So yeah, everything on the internet is super chill and okay right now. And then, if you leak something from Marvel, know that they're gonna come after you. With Variety reporting right now that Marvel is trying to track down people who allegedly leaked a 63-page transcript of dialogue from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. The movie wasn't released until mid-February, but around January 20th, dialogue was leaked on the Marvel Studios spoilers subreddit. And so Marvel has actually filed a request in a federal district court in California asking to issue a subpoena for Reddit to reveal who's responsible, and specifically seeking all identifying information for the user MSS Mods and any other users responsible for posting, editing, and or maintaining the content. With them also filing a similar request to Google as someone shared the transcript on a Google Doc as well. Now currently, it's unclear if either company plans to comply. Without a doubt, they want to make an example of this person or these people. So the good news for Marvel is it doesn't look like it actually hurt the movie, with Quantumania already domestically outgrossing the original 2015 Ant-Man film. Though, it might have hurt it because it's still behind its 2018 sequel, though that could also be just from superhero movie fatigue, with it seeming, at least from people that are being vocal about it, there being a bigger and bigger disconnect as the franchise moves forward. And then, but also not the end of legal news in the entertainment sphere. This one deals with Netflix and the series Making a Murderer, because a judge just ruled that a retired detective featured in the series was not defamed by Netflix. That documentary, I can't believe it's been so long, came out in 2015, and it was lauded at the time as one of the most significant shows on the platform, and even credited with prompting a new wave of fascination with true crime. I mean, you had nearly 20 million people watching it in the first 35 days that it was available. But then, in April of 2019, Detective Andrew Colborn filed a lawsuit accusing Netflix of defamation, saying that the series misquoted his testimony by editing snippets and including reactions of others to make him look nervous. And Rolling Stone reporting that at one point he claimed that the show omitted, distorted, and falsified material and significant facts in an effort to portray Colborn as a corrupt police officer who planted evidence to frame an innocent man, and further alleging that the filmmakers did so with actual malice and in order to make the film more profitable and more successful, sacrificing and defining Colborn's character and reputation in the process. But as the Associated Press reported, a U.S. district judge in Wisconsin sided with Netflix over the matter, saying that the filmmakers did not act with any malice, and also adding that the edits in the film retain the gist of Colborn's testimony. And then, I want to take time to wish our fantastic partner and the sponsor of today's show, Ridge, a happy 10th year anniversary. With 10 years of great reviews and iconic wallets, Ridge is obsessed with making durable, space-saving gear that you'll actually use. Right? Ridge is all about your everyday organization with the chic, minimalist wallets, key case, rings, and watches. Personally, I love that Ridge is a minimalist front pocket wallet that's slim, RFID blocking, and comes with a lifetime guarantee. Seriously, it holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash. They come in titanium, carbon fiber, and aluminum, and on top of that, there are tons of different styles and colors to choose from. And easily my new favorite item is their durable key case that holds up to 6 keys. It takes out the clunky jingle of the regular key ring experience, and it's just cool. So celebrate 10 years of Ridge and head over to ridge.com/DeFranco for their best offer of up to 40% off until March 24th. And the Ridge team is so confident that you'll like it, they'll let you test drive it for 99 days. You don't love it, you send it back for a full refund. So what are you waiting for? Go to ridge.com/DeFranco to get up to 40% off right now. And then, for the first time since the Ukraine war began a year ago, Russia and the United States had a direct military confrontation. Oh, good, great. So strap on your gas masks, boys and girls. Let's talk about it. Because at the center of this is an American MQ-9 Reaper drone, an utterly massive unmanned aircraft boasting a 66-foot wingspan and costing $32 million. And according to Washington, it was conducting a routine surveillance operation over the Black Sea and international airspace west of Crimea, but supposedly well clear of any Ukrainian territory. But that is when 2 Russian Su-27 fighter jets swooped in to intercept, allegedly flying around and in front of the drone for 30 to 40 minutes, also dumping fuel on it. And then one of the jets allegedly struck the drone's propeller. And when I say struck, I don't mean they shot a missile or bullets at it. I mean this motherfucker physically collided with the drone in midair, likely damaging itself and definitely forcing the drone to crash land in the water. But Moscow, big surprise, has a different story, saying the American drone was flying close to the Russian border and intruded on an area declared off limits, admitting that its fighter jets did move in to intercept, but then claiming, as a result of sharp maneuver, the U.S. drone went into uncontrollable flight with a loss of altitude and collided with water surface, or essentially saying they didn't make physical contact with it. I don't know if they're claiming like they did one of these and America flinched, but whatever the case may be, right, whatever happened, it's still unclear whether this was all intentional. So some say it's more likely an accident because it would be extremely hard for a pilot to deliberately strike another aircraft without jeopardizing him or herself. But in the meantime, we're seeing both sides seeking to de-escalate, with the State Department summoning the Russian ambassador for a meeting on Tuesday. And as for the leftover drone, the White House says that it crashed into very deep water and that recovery may not be possible. But then you have the Russians saying they're going to attempt it anyway, and if they succeed, they could get their hands on some sensitive technology. But at the very least, the one maybe silver lining to this situation, and it is a very slim silver lining, is everyone, including Russia, should be grateful this was an unmanned drone. Because if an American was in that aircraft, this could have easily been seen as an act of war. And there's really nothing that unites Americans more than someone else fucking with us. America has historically taken that shit very seriously and even made some people glow. And then, remember how yesterday I said things look maybe kind of hopeful for banks rebounding, but we need to wait for the long term? Well, apparently, we didn't have to wait that long, because the Swiss banking giant Credit Suisse just released an annual report disclosing what it called material weaknesses in its past financial reporting, and adding that fixing the issue could be very expensive, and the trouble could ultimately impact the bank's access to capital markets and subject it to potential regulatory investigations and sanctions, which then prompted the bank's biggest investors, Saudi